Broadcasting live to tape from beautiful Omaha, Nebraska, where on a clear night you can almost see a corny end of the year podcast. It's the RutgersKev Show.
Kevin O'Keefe gets the win at Charlotte.
Kevin O'Keefe is going to take his first win and only his third start in the series. Beautiful job for Kevin O'Keefe.
Gonna troll me forever.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Sean, take a look at his on his kid there.
Very appropriate today. Oh boy.
I'm Matt Malone. I stream iRacing, but when I'm not racing, I'm listening to the RutgersKev Show with your host, RutgersKev.
How does he have 38 viewers?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the end of the year RutgersKev Show. First off, special thank you to my Patreon supporters, especially my $10 Patreon supporters, Matt Owens, Billy Smith, and Bruce Smith. Thank you very much for your support. If you want to support the show, it's patreon.com/RutgersKev. I hate being that shrill that advertises right off the bat. I hate when you listen to podcasts, like the first 5 minutes, it's just the host plugging themselves and all their websites. But, I mean, it's true. I mean, that's what you got to do because people only listen to the first 5 minutes. Are you still listening? Great. Let's talk about some iRacing. So, for this, I kind of want to do the 10, like, to me, most memorable moments, but they're not, like, specific moments. They're just kind of events or topics that came up throughout the year. And this is in a particular order, but don't be too like hung up on what's 4 and what's 7. I mean, these can easily be switched around. I think 1 and 2 are pretty set. I think we can play around with some other things. Okay. So let's start. Number 10. Number 10 on my list, eSport negatives. So I started this podcast because I really feel like iRacing is just on the verge of breaking out. I really feel like, man, we are just so close to where we need to be to get iRacing broken into the mainstream. I think it's really going to be, fantastic. And we're going to get to the future for esports. But I got to say, this year was a real negative for esports. It started out so promising with the World of Outlaws Dirt Series and the Global Rallycross. And then, things just went to heck. I mean, at the end of the season, they couldn't even get full grids for the World Championship in dirt. I mean, just, embarrassing. This race on stream right now is the next to last race of the season. Couldn't even get a full grid. I mean, they had 18 cars. So heat races and all that stuff doesn't mean anything. Last chance qualifying, there is no last chance qualifying. It got so bad that they didn't even show the starting order like on the screen like they would normally do before the start. They just kind of scrolled it down on the bottom because they just knew they didn't have a full grid. So and then the racing quality of this stuff was not very good, and that's mostly because of the track. There was a lot of issues with the moisture in the track and the surface model himself. It just led to some poor quality racing and poor quality broadcasts, and the numbers showed it. I mean, some of these dirt World Championship races on the iRacing eSport network has less than 1,000 views. I mean, I don't know what World of Outlaws paid, and I don't know if they're happy with the result or unhappy, but, just a real disappointment that it couldn't bring in higher numbers just because of multiple factors working against it. I would encourage everybody, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to episode 3 or episode 4 of this podcast. I don't even know the episode number, and I don't even know what it's called because I named it 2 different things. So I named it Growth Prevented on YouTube. It's the most popular video for this podcast. It has over 4,000 views. But on the audio version, it's called Shots Fired. So Randy and I spent almost 2 hours talking about all the things that iRacing has failed. And we did this in early March. And really, everything we talked about, iRacing, continued to go down the same path this year. And it's really, really disappointing. So the Road World Championship did not have a title sponsor. Blancpain left at the end of 2017, so VRS stepped up, but who knows what VRS is chipping in? Not a significant amount of money, I would tell you. In general, the views just weren't there. We pretty much had the exact same numbers we've had in years past, mostly like 4,000 views on these videos, nowhere near the levels we should be and nowhere near compared to other games. I mean, we've just been overtaken. iRacing's just been overtaken by other events, specifically F1. I mean, the final of F1, just the final race, 4.4 million views. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, but if you can see on the video podcast, look at the production values of this. And it's broadcasted from an esport arena. It was broadcasted live on network TV, I think Sky, and in certain other countries. And just this one event, 4.4 million views. And that's not even the people that watch it archived. So, I mean, is the quality of this racing better than iRacing? Hell no. Hell no. But it's got the backing of Formula One, which iRacing just cannot have. And it's got the production values to prove it, and it's got the media power of F1. I mean, F1 is run by a media company, and they kind of know what they're doing, and they know what they're doing right, you know. And I don't know what Codemasters does, but you know, they got serious production values that iRacing just does not have. Well, you know, so it's not even just like F1. You know, even NASCAR. I mean, we have NASCAR, and it's just totally like, in the production values, totally just overshot. So here is, well, I just wanted to quickly show you. This is the GT Sport Nations Cup final. No, this is Forza. No, GT, right. GT World Tour Nations Cup final. That was during the Sim Racing Expo. And you just see like the production values and the host and the fact that it's a LAN event and they got the teams, and there's Jimmer. Right there, you know, they're flying people out there. They're flying the personalities out there. You know, they just kind of know like what they're doing. And you compare this to what we're getting in iRacing, and it's just night and day, even though the product on the track for iRacing is so much better. Here's the Forza. Now, this only has 665 views, but this is the 2008 season recap. And you just see the production values, and you see like, you know, the drivers come out and they're on stage, and they just got like, but the actual racing itself, terrible. I mean, terrible compared to what we're getting for iRacing. So going back to what I was talking about, here's NASCAR Heat. Like NASCAR Heat did their event at Daytona, and they had real drivers come out. They had a real presence at the Daytona 500. I mean, the real driver is Jeffrey Earnhardt, so we're scrapping the bottom of the barrel here, right? But they had real personalities from the Motor Racing Network appear and like call the races, and you know, it was giant. It was just a giant, you know, marketing thing for the game. But they were kind of talking about like how realistic the game was and all that. Here is Dave Moody of the Motor Racing Network. He's also got a show on Sirius XM. This guy here, you know. But then you go to the actual game itself, it's terrible. I mean, like, you know, the announcers are talking about how realistic and all this looks. I mean, come on, you know, like, yeah, in real life, we got the Station 11 over their head, and they're all beating and banging and going down the grass and throwing each other into the walls. You know, yeah, that happens all the time in real life. You know, so for where iRacing is as a sim, and what they did this year, you know, they really got to step their game up. Number 9, iRacing stepping their game up. Oh, would you look at that? So we just talked about this last episode, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but Porsche has stepped up and is now to be the title sponsor of the Road World Championship Series. NASCAR has stepped up, increased the prize pool to $100,000. And iRacing raised the prize pool of the other World Championships to $25,000. So hopefully, with Porsche stepping in, and with NASCAR maybe taking a higher presence, I read that NASCAR is going to be streaming the races on NASCAR.com. You know, we might get a little bit more exposure. So more exposure is good. Speaking of exposure, number 8. iRacing going mainstream. You know, for everything I just said about the World Championship getting less and less viewers, or about the same viewers this year, the national exposure for iRacing this year was through the roof. I mean, mostly thanks to NBC Sports. I mean, let's be honest, the NASCAR America basically talked about iRacing every single episode. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, they would have special segments about iRacing, and the drivers would come on and talk about how iRacing is a great training tool and all that stuff. And you knew it wasn't like marketing BS. You knew like they really meant what they were talking about. Oh, excuse me. And so like William Byron would come on the air, and they would have events from the NASCAR Racing Hall of Fame where they've got the iRacing simulator, and they would just talk about how they use iRacing to train for events and how the old timers didn't really have NASCAR like that. So it was really like, Kyle Petty was trying to say like, well, you can train visually, but you can't train your butt, and they would be like, yeah, but your butt learns a lot slower, a lot faster than your brain. You know what I mean? It's like the brain's the most important tool. So it was really like, unpaid marketing for iRacing. So the exposure is just great. And it's not just the NBC Sports. I mean, you've got the Atlantic writing articles. How iRacing is democratizing motorsports. These days, amateur speed enthusiasts can use digital simulators to compete against the car racing industry's biggest stars. The esports arena is a playground for gamers, pros, and talent scouts. I mean, this is on the Atlantic, guys. This is some serious, business here. Not, the top story of the Atlantic. The president is visiting troops in Iraq. To what end? Ooh, to what end? Ooh, who knows, right? But you've got a pretty good article here about iRacing talking about how iRacing is very good. This guy says that he went to a Starbucks after he raced. He threw on an iRacing stream, and he, quote, fooled people into thinking that, and it was a real thing. So one of the paragraphs in this article I want to read. The distance between fantasy and reality will only get shorter as iRacing works with motorsports territorial stakeholders to create opportunities for gamers to drive proper race cars. Within that is an esport element that's presented as seriously as a real thing. The production values for these streaming broadcasts, with their play-by-play announcers, quote, onboard, quote, interviews, and slick graphic overlays, are as impressive as anything you'll find on ESPN or Fox Sports. Steve Meyer says iRacing streaming broadcasts this year have already crested 1 million impressions just in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing World Championships, an event that pits iRacing's 40 best stock car racers in a mad dash for $17,000 in cash and prizes. It's only a matter of time before tens of thousands of people are scrutinizing these broadcasts from the grandstands of actual racetracks as the gamers trade paint pixels in much the same way World of Warcraft packs its completionists into stadiums and arenas. I mean, you're comparing iRacing here to World of Warcraft. You've got some serious talk here. I mean, so for everything iRacing did wrong, they look to be on the right track here. It's just a matter of time before that rocket ship goes off. I just want to be around when it does go off. Number 8. Are we on 8 or are we on 7? I forgot. My sheet got messed up here. I'm going to say this is 8. No, it's not. It's 7, right? It's 7. So, we really should. Now, if I was a good podcaster, we would keep on the theme of iRacing's growth, but we're going to skip one, be it iRacing mainstream, but we are going to be consistent with our order here, right? So one of the big things I found this year was the staff of iRacing was much more engaged in the forums. We had Tyler there, Drew, and there was like a staff post almost like every hour, it would seem, and then, so the question is more staff in post for better or for worse, so, it's obviously for the better. We want some responses better than no responses, but it did seem like a lot of the staff was kind of dismissive to us. Like later on, we're going to hear about certain things that happened during the year and their staff response to it. And it just wasn't like what you would see or want to see from a community organizer. a community manager. So just a lot of upsetting moments this year from the staff in the forums. But hey, at least we're getting some conversation, so that's good. Number 6. When I started this podcast, one of the episodes talked about iRacing on Twitch and how I want to grow the hobby. So during that episode, we talked about Matt Malone streaming, and he had 400 viewers. Matt Malone at 400 viewers was by far and away the highest streamer, the next highest at that time at 30. So unfortunately, a rising tide has risen all boats, but only risen it a little. Who's risen a lot? Matt Malone. He's killing it this year. And every Thursday for the month of December, he reached the front page of Twitch. Now, he's a Twitch partner, and apparently all you have to do is just ask Twitch, and they'll put you on the front page. But for a game like iRacing, the exposure has been great. So Matt has been getting, steady 500 to 700 viewers every one of his streams, and he was over 6,000 viewers for one of his Thursday front page streams. I mean, that's great. I mean, there's certainly a lot of people out there, a lot of Forza players, a lot of Gran Turismo players that maybe saw iRacing for the first time. And maybe it was like, yeah, I've heard about iRacing, but it's really expensive. And just once they heard how expensive it was, they just stopped right there. Well, Matt stepped up and really, really showed iRacing for like what it is. And it helped that, okay, you say, oh, well, this Matt's good. Let's see what he's about. Oh, he's part of Grip TV. Oh, Grip TV is Jimmer. Oh, I know Jimmer because I watch Forza and GT videos on YouTube. Right? Oh, wow, this iRacing thing is pretty cool. Hey, what's this? Matt just got into a confrontation with Lando Norris. Oh, wow, this stuff's great. So, it's been great for iRacing to get this exposure. It's been great for everybody on Twitch to get more viewers. It's been great for Matt, obviously. Last I saw, Matt was at 1,100 subs. He may even be higher because I didn't get to watch his after Christmas stream today. I'm recording this on Wednesday, December 26th. So we did take a couple days off for Christmas, and who knows what happened to a sub count, whether it went up or down after that. But, great. I mean, Matt's killing it. A lot of other content creators are killing it. Sorry, I got a little dry in this room. I got a cough. Sorry about that. So, just credit to everybody on Twitch who's just absolutely killing it. Okay, now I have another Twitch topic, but of course, because I'm trying to go in some sort of order and I'm a terrible podcaster, we're not going to talk about the Twitch topic yet. We are going to go back to iRacing being mainstream. Because this is the RutgersKev show, and we don't do anything the proper way. Number 5. Scott Speed suspended from iRacing. Now, this made national news, international news. Scott Speed playing a video game suspended from iRacing because he was a dick. Here's an article from The Drive. Ex-Formula 1 driver and global rallycross champion Scott Speed suspended from iRacing over intentional crashes. Facing off against your favorite pro driver could be a thrill, but what happens if he drives like a jerk and officials let it slide? This is from February. This seems like forever ago. These are tweets. Just saw Scott Speed have a temper tantrum on iRacing. Hope the dude gets a banhammer from that garbage. Scott Speed messed up how you tried to wreck somebody intentionally on iRacing. Look up any video on YouTube and he's taking other drivers out. That's not fair at all. Wow, this Scott Speed iRacing meltdown is amazing. I mean, even Tony Stewart manages to stay cool. So here's an article about how Scott Speed intentionally wrecked YTB Biggs, who, as he was streaming. So, excuse me. So apparently he got into an accident with Scott. And Scott was leading the race, and he spun him out. So then Scott got angry and tried to crash into him. That was Scott just flying across his nose like that for the second time he tried to take him out. So, I mean, the fact that he did it to a streamer And the fact that it made national news, really put iRacing in I think, a positive light, because it showed people there's consequences for your actions on the track, unlike in other games. And also that these pro drivers actually do it, and they take it so seriously that they would be, mad at it enough to crash somebody. So even though maybe it was a stain on iRacing at the time that Scott Speed got suspended and sold his rig on Facebook as a result of it, I think that in the grand scheme it was a positive. It got more names out of iRacing, and it just showed like, hey, Scott Speed is here. You can race against Scott Speed. And then it just brought up like, who else is on here? Tony Stewart. Who else is on here? This guy. And, it just got more and more eyeballs into iRacing. So Scott Speed, number 5. Number 4. Number 4 is a topic that I want to devote a whole episode to, maybe even multiple episodes to, but I really want to get an interview with Craig to do it. So if you don't know who I'm talking about Craig A. Williams, the owner of Craig Setup Shop. And number 4 to me is the trade of Twitch subs for in-game benefits. I've never heard of this before in any other games, and I've done my research over the past couple months, and I've asked around in different subforums and on Twitter, and I've just asked around, is there anybody out there that says, if you subscribe to me, I will give you something that'll improve you in the game itself? Not like, not coaching. Okay, I can see some people do coaching because all that is not in the game. I'm going to give you an item in the game that's going to make you go faster. That to me, it just boggles my mind, and that's what Craig is doing. He has Craig Setup Shop, CraigSetupShop.com, and if you subscribe to him on Twitch, you get setups for a bunch of different cars, and the setups are good, and then you don't have to worry about setups, basically. If I race GT3 and IMSA, all my setups are taken care of. Even HPD, which I also run the Autobahn series, all the setups are taken care of. They're all there on Craig's website. And he even has a downloader, so it just makes it completely easy. Here's a downloader over here. So he has a downloader where it just automatically downloads all the setups. Boom, no problem, easy. Excuse me. Sorry. So the main thing to me, this is why this is number 4, is that what I would call, as a Twitch streamer, I call this the weaponization of Twitch subs. The fact that Craig is offering what he's offering for a sub, and Kutu is offering his overlay for a sub, and Matt is offering all these emotes, and he's really built the community. And it just seems like, if you're streaming and you hit a cone, you should say GTV cone. It's like, so Matt's kind of the aside, other than Craig and Kutu. And not that Craig and Kutu are doing anything wrong. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. Okay, there's not an attack on them, but the weaponization of Twitch subs, especially when Twitch Prime is free. So that's another thing that you may not know. If you listen to this, you probably know. But if you are a member of Amazon Prime, then you get Twitch Prime for free. So you can subscribe to one person for free every month. So that one sub is very, very valuable, right? You basically get a free way to support your favorite content creator. So whether that's Matt or Quirk or Tanner or anybody, that's great. You pick. Some people trade them around. They'll like sub to one person a month, a different person every single month. Just to spread the wealth around. But when that free sub can give you, on my end, a Why Me emote and give you setups for almost every car in the game, there's not really a competition there. You should subscribe to Craig. And that's what I do. I use my free Twitch Prime sub to subscribe to Craig. So by doing that, I'm obviously giving Craig money, but I'm taking money away from the person I would have used my Twitch Prime sub, which is probably Matt. Because subscribing to Matt doesn't give me any in-game benefits. Subscribing to Craig gives me setups. So this is going to be a topic that's going to come up in future episodes, and I definitely want to get Craig on the show. It's just really hard to interview people from Europe because of the time differences and because of how busy I am with the family and everything. But just something to think about, and something to me that really took a hold this year was Craig set up shop as a Twitch Prime. Number 3. iRacing has absolutely killed it this year with the iRacing Le Mans series. So in March, probably the most important build into the most recent one came out, and iRacing introduced the LMP1 cars. And when they're combined with the GTE cars, it's just mwah, mwah. It just makes for some fantastic racing and for, frankly, some fantastic content creation. Obviously, you've got, flaws with low experienced drivers driving these LMP1 cars, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, it's just kicks ass. I mean, so I'm going to play you a little bit of this video from Matt, and you could just see from yourself by the action that's on the screen, like, just how awesome this is. So there's HPDs. That's the second place HPD passing them on the right? And then up in front of him is an LMP1 car, and then coming up is going to be more LMP1 cars, and he's in a tight battle with multiple makes of GTE cars. I mean, and the HPD is not really that much faster than the GTE cars, so it just creates these gaggles. Like, so he's in a 4-way battle, and behind him is Nicky Tim, who, if you don't know, obviously drives the Aston Martin in real life. It is the former world champion, WEC world champion. I mean, recognized by the FIA as a world champion. I mean, we're talking some serious business here, right? So look at this. I mean, this is crazy. And then coming up is going to be the LMP1 car. So if you look in the mirror here, that's Dominic Farber there in the LMP1 car. And so they have to try to work around these cars. And it just makes for it's just some fantastic stuff. And the GTE has just created some awesome racing. And that's why I'm looking forward to next year. I'm looking a lot. I'm looking like the GT World Championship Endurance is going to full GTE. And the fact that these guys can race so close together, it's just going to make for some fantastic races. Just the action is just going to be out of this world crazy. So the Le Mans series has hour-long races every 2 hours. It's extremely popular. There's a lot of GTE cars, more so this year because of the Pro Series going to GTE. And it just creates some fantastic stuff. So iRacing Le Mans series, new in 2018, number 3 on my most memorable events of 2018. Number 2 is just how iRacing completely dropped the ball on special events. Now, I've had multiple episodes about this topic. I did a whole bit about it, which I'm going to play on stream, but you can't listen to the audio. So search for RutgersKev special events, and you'll get a lot of content on special events and how much iRacing really dropped the ball on this one. So for the too long didn't read, they canceled Sebring. They canceled the 12 hours. They canceled the 6 hours of Watkins Glen. They canceled the 12 hours of Sebring. They just went poof, it's gone. And they did nothing to kind of fix problems other than just to say, okay, our bad. These events are canceled. So these special events, they mean a lot to people. And they bring in new people. The sim racers take them very seriously. I mean, a lot of people I know, like, haven't raced road, and then they'll go race a special event, and then they're like, wow, this is awesome, But iRacing kind of completely dropped the ball and didn't really consider just how important these special events were. So in 2019, they've added more events to special events calendar. They've incorporated special events into the series themselves, more of them. So I think that's good. They've also imposed their incident limits for special events, which again, I think are good. You can debate on what the incident limit should be, but to have an incident limit, I think is good. So there's positive things on the horizon, but for me, when you talk about 2018 and you talk about the memorable things that happened this year, the way iRacing handles special events, number 2. And finally, number 1. Number 1, you all know it. You all know what's coming. You can guess it yourself. You're screaming at your radio right now. Yep, it's iRacing day-night transitions. Now, this just came out in the December build, and they knocked it out of the park, and I'm calling it iRacing 3.0. Now, I just spent half the episode with Riley talking about this, so I don't really want to spend too much time on this. But if you want to talk about 2018 and how 2018 is going to affect the future of iRacing, this is it. Day-night transitions, and just the fact that like a rolling cloud can come in and affect the qualifying of the World Championship Series, it's just going to be something that's talked about for forever. As long as iRacing's around, this day-night transitions is going to be talked about with it. Not even Forza Motorsport 7 has day-night transitions. For this game that talks about all the endurance races that they can do, and you can race Le Mans for 24 hours, and they have all these different tracks with rain, and they have all these different tracks with night. Well, they don't have day-night transitions, and it's either raining at the start of the event and it rains the whole way through, or it doesn't rain. Well, iRacing's got day-night transitions, and rain's coming, and when rain's come, it's going to be like a cloud is going to come over the track, and it's going to start raining. So just like it does in real life, it'll be dry one moment and wet the next. I mean, this is a game changer, and it's exactly why I'm calling this iRacing 3.0. And honestly, if I was iRacing, I'd call it iRacing 3.0. Just come out and say it. Now, they might be waiting for the beta UI as a real official launch, but we all know the beta UI needs work. So they might be waiting for when the beta UI comes out to really do the big marketing push as, look, this is our whole new front page. We're going to be, user-friendly, blah, 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 blah. We've got day-night transitions. Look at all the cars. We've got all these great things happening. So all in all, 2018, kind of a stable year for iRacing. Not too bad, not too great. But the news that came out the last month that NASCAR stepping up, Porsche stepping up, the day-night transitions went smooth. Just really, really, really looking forward to what's coming up. We got the 24 Hours of Daytona coming up with day-night transitions. Just going to be fantastic. And I just think that when people look back, they're going to see this introduction of day-night transitions as kind of like just this whole month. We got day-night transitions. We got Porsche. We got NASCAR. We got Matt Malone on the front page. All this happened this month. So, I mean, that's half the top 10 right there. So I just think it's going to be I think the future for iRacing is very bright. And I'm not sure about the future of this podcast being bright because I really need someone to be on the show with me. Just me talking monotone with my nasally voice and my cough. Maybe not that interesting. So if you want to be on the show, come on my Discord, message me. Anybody who wants to come on the show is welcome. I just can't record until around 10 o'clock Eastern on a weeknight. So, hey, if that's something that you're interested in doing, let's talk. It doesn't have to be a permanent thing. You just want to come on the show and hang out, great. So 2019 for me, I'm going to talk about that on the next episode. So if you're looking forward to the ideas I have for 2019, tune in next episode. If you want to talk about anything iRacing, you can call the show. You can come on my Discord. You can leave a voicemail message at RutgersKevShow@gmail.com. Leave a message on my Patreon, patreon.com/RutgersKev. I'm looking for the support of everybody to just, you know, it doesn't have to be through a monetary method. I'm just looking for like messages, just, you know, or a review on iTunes, just something like that, to kind of keep the word of mouth going. And that's my show. Thanks everybody for listening and watching this week. What are your top 10 moments, or what's your favorite moment from iRacing this year? Leave a message in the comments. Leave a message on my Discord. Let me know. You know, something important happened I didn't talk about. Let me know. We'll talk about it next week. Thanks, everybody.
That's the end of my show. Donk.